The good, the bad, and the ugly predictions for the upcoming season next on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast, and please make sure to subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. We are brought to you today by FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook.
We need a coffee sponsor, Tony. We need a coffee sponsor.
Today, man, we're struggling, man, getting back into the fold. The calendar flipped to September since our last podcast, and hockey will soon be here. It will soon be in the air. In fact, rookie camp scheduled for September the 12th, 1 week from Thursday. And so that's a part of the good is that hockey season is back, especially for people like Chris who just can't live without it.
You got 9 months of hockey, Tony. 9 months of hockey now.
Man, are we ready for this? Okay, so for VGK, the good should be a primarily healthy roster when they report to camp, including Mark Stone. The good for me would be the inclusion of Noah Hannafin. Looking forward to his season. Jack Eichel. Those will be the two focal points. Both could be in for really big campaigns this season. The good, Bruce Cassidy and Bruce we trust. In South Beach, Bruce we trust. You know, he's worked all summer trying to get things together there, and he's trying to figure out how he's going to make all these pieces fit. But that's some of the good for me. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on a lot of that. Obviously, the new faces, Holtz and Olofsson, what are they going to bring to the table? That's very interesting to me. A lot of buzz on Olofsson right now. I think I'm not sure who has maybe more unrealistic expectations, if it's Hannafin or Olofsson right now, but we'll see how that plays out. Brisson and Dorofeev, what are they going to do this season? Dorofeev, obviously. All signs are pointing to a breakout campaign for Dorofeev. He's been around. He's had a little bit of injury issues, but when he's on the ice, he finds a way to be a difference maker. Can Dorofeev, play 75, 80 games and predominantly in a top 6 role? That would be phenomenal if that's the player Dorofeev ends up becoming. Health, just from a general perspective. Can Eichel be out there for 75 games? I'm still very high on Mark Stone. I'm still saying 75 games or bust for Mark Stone. I think Mark Stone's going to have one of his healthiest campaigns in a long, long time. And then for me, Kelly McCrimmon, want to see what he has up his sleeve right now. Obviously, the hope is the team is in a playoff spot for, leading up until the Four Nations face-off 2-week timeout, I guess you can call it. And then obviously during that time or after the teams come back before the trade deadline in early March, what's McCrimmon going to do? So those are the things that kind of excite me and the good for the season, the storylines, if you will.
Okay, a good will be the change of scenery for those new players who desperately needed it, including Alex Holtz and Victor Olofsson, as you mentioned, and Ilya Samsonov. I think that those 3 players get the change of scenery that they desperately needed.
Yeah, I mean, Olofsson, what's he? Is he a 20-goal scorer? Or is he going to be the 50 game or whatever, however many games he played last year with Buffalo in a team that missed the playoffs, and he found himself on the outside looking in most nights. So this is why I just think the expectations are a little strange for Olofsson. I get it. A lot of players revitalize their career when they come to Vegas, or they just find a better version of themselves. Obviously, I'm talking more or less about Jack Eichel. To that point, we've seen a whole new evolution in Jack Eichel's game. Of course, Olofsson and Eichel do have that connection. So to your point, yes, a change of scenery is probably going to be the best for Olofsson. Now, is he going to run with it? Who knows? Can Olofsson keep himself in a Bruce Cassidy lineup where you're expected to play both ways? Win your battles, win your races. Plain and simple, win your battles, win your races. If Olofsson can do those little things right, then yeah, this could be really fun to see what he can do. If he isn't that type of player, someone like Tanner Pearson, if he gets offered a contract after his PTO, could certainly eat into his minutes. Alex Holtz, you said change of scenery, did well in a bottom 6 type of role with the New Jersey Devils. Let's see what his opportunity is with the Vegas Golden Knights. Player that seems could be like he can be a big part of the long-term plan for the Golden Knights. If there is a long-term plan, Tony, who knows? You
is
never
there
know.
a plan?
There's this year. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I don't think the Golden Knights were ready for what happened in free agency. So I think there was a plan, but there wasn't a plan B. They didn't have the Mike Tyson backup plan. Tony Kelly McCrimmon got punched in the face. He didn't have a plan. He didn't have a plan to respond. And then lastly, Samsonov. I don't know what is Samsonov going to do, Tony? Is he going to? I think he plays more games than Aiden Hill, first of all. Beyond that, I have no idea what that means. A lot of his advanced metrics were, for lack of a better term, terrible last year. But the dude simply eats up minutes and eats up games and finds a way to give the team a chance to win. So, is Samsonov going to be a locker room cancer? Is he going to bring the locker room down? Or is he going to find a new version of himself? These are all crazy things. I think the last thing on the good side for me is, who are the new locker room voices going to be? I've talked a lot about Keegan Kolesar. I really feel Keegan Kolesar has a chance to step into a leadership role with this team. Are they going to put a letter?
You're going to get blasted again. You'll get blasted for that. You'll get blasted.
Blast me if I don't care. It's September. I don't care. I was already chirping yesterday with that Mark Stone that actually was Braden McNabb tweets that had like 20,000 people jumping in there. So that was it's a good time. Blast me all you want, but I do think Keegan Kolesar. I'm not saying he's going to be a 15 goal scorer. I'm not saying he's going to be out there fighting every single game, but Kolesar, I think, will be a greater locker room presence, and it's going to be fun to watch.
A restructured power play, I think, is the good, especially with Hannafin as the quarterback. And I just think that they are working on figuring it out with all those new faces and who is actually going to be the player that steps up, or players that step up on the power play.
Chemistry. There it is. There's your buzzword, Tony. There's your buzzword, chemistry. I mean, listen, you make a point, Tony. You said the quarterback and the changes in the personnel and everything.
You told me to be positive here.
I am being positive. They're working on the chemistry right now, Tony. They're working. Okay. They have time to work on the chemistry. I mean,
that's good. Chemistry's good.
Well, listen, you and I dumped on the perspective of chemistry. You and I both went right at Cassidy and McCrimmon when we heard the chemistry crap from the playoffs, and I stand by that 1,000%. I think that was a garbage excuse, but it's what the team is selling, so that's fine. So the team is selling it. Now it's time for us to buy the fact that there's going to be a full training camp starting with the rookies on the 12th and like a week later or 10 days later, whatever it is, with the players to develop this chemistry that the team stated lacked in the playoffs, and use that as a reason why they lost 4 or 5 games all of a sudden against the Dallas Stars after having a 2-0 lead. So the team wants us to believe the chemistry was a problem. Fine. Now the team has a chance to fix the chemistry with a full training camp of Hannafin as the quarterback, with Tomas Hertl as presumably the second line center, and everything else from there. So time to fix that chemistry, but there's also some new faces. So maybe that chemistry might take a little bit longer.
Yeah, well, at least they retooled that power play unit. So looking forward to that. That is part of the good for me. And then
I think it's more coaching. I don't think it's the unit, but that's another conversation.
Parking lot. Okay, but the good could also be this team traditionally gets out to the fast start. It's part of the good.
100%. That's part of the good. Bruce Cassidy's 2 seasons with the Golden Knights, I don't know what the numbers are, but they come shot out of a cannon. Last year was 20-5. Did you say 25-5 or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
It was 10 or 11 games before a regulation loss. It was just a lot of really good stuff. Their first, I think, home loss, if you will, was to the Blackhawks, if I'm not mistaken. It was overtime, so they got the point still. But, so yeah, I mean, I got a schedule here somewhere. I can't need to look at it right now. But I think they start with 3 games at home, which certainly helps. And, any little bit helps early in the season, because historically the health of this team does get a little rough in the middle third. And then hopefully in the final third, things get better. We highlighted the middle third of the season on Thursday or Friday show last week. It was a really good segment. And, can the good be the middle third of the season? Maybe there you go, Tony. Is that something we're looking forward to, or is that just something that we feel needs to happen, needs to be good?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, the middle third, and that was in my notes for perhaps the bad. And we'll talk about the bad. What are we
Good
concerned
transition.
about?
We're getting, the deeper this show goes, we're getting better. We're getting better. This is good. That was good.
What are we concerned about other than our chemistry? Coming up next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel because it's America's #1 sports book, and it's a lot of fun. And of course, now is the time to put in all your bets for NFL Week 1 coming up this Sunday. Raiders at Chargers. That line has fluctuated from Raiders +3 to +4, now back down to a 3-point spread. Well, we have something a little bit different for you as well now through September the 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube television base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Visit fanduel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick reporting from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast. I'm off a little bit slow today. I had a real hectic, busy sports weekend. Friday night I went to the Aces. Saturday I watched the UNLV Rebel game, then went to a club downtown. That's another story. That's an entire show.
Is that for the ugly?
It was part
a
of
club
the ugly.
Downtown. What'd you go think? The place at Golden Nugget, or did you go to what's it called?
It's a new club called Substance and their client, and it was actually a lot of fun, but late night. And then of course, went to the LSU USC game, which was terrific.
That seemed like it was bonkers.
Oh, it was so good. It was so much fun. Best part of the night was Cardasco almost getting arrested for driving the wrong way. That's where the parking attendant sent me, down a one-way street. And all of a sudden, Mr. Motorcycle Cop came after me, and it was a lot of fun. Tonight, Angel Reese is here, and she'll be over there at T-Mobile Arena against the Aces capacity crowd.
Awesome.
Okay, so the bad.
Are they ever going to transition to T-Mobile, Tony? It seems like they're just playing so many games at T-Mobile, selling out. I mean,
they would have to sell. I think about someone told me from the organization, I think 3 times as many tickets like to pay for T-Mobile. So they have to have sellout crowds there.
That's a tall ask. That's a tall ask.
It's a big ask. So they're making the loot there at Mandalay Bay, and so yeah, it is. And they
very successful. Good story.
They struggled early, to sell out this game, and so the folks over there did a really good job in marketing this, and then of course, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese both really lived up to expectations, and so that's why I think this game is sold out tonight. So
it's awesome.
And there's a little bit of bad blood now between the Aces and Chicago, so that makes it more fun as well. Oh, how stupid the bad. Okay, is this WTF edition? September the 22nd, the WNBA will be playing all 4 of its first round playoff games. Right now, the Aces are in position to host a home game. September the 22nd, we have Carolina and the Raiders right across the street over at Allegiant Stadium. Why does the WNBA go up against the NFL? You cannot win. Okay, the bad.
Yeah.
As we regress here. Should I continue on this bandwagon today? I've got plenty for you there.
I mean, at some point, we should probably talk hockey in a second.
All right, I'll get off the soapbox, back to the bad. And part of the bad, I think, is just replacing all of those goals and points left behind. This is definitely going to be a season in which, again, it's unpredictable because, what did you say, like 197 points?
It's in the 190 range, something like that.
Yeah,
it's in the 190 range.
I thought you said, okay, so something like that.
A lot. Just under 200 points. So there you go. Better buzzword.
Okay, better buzzword, 200 points. Yeah, I think those scoring issues could become a major concern for this team.
100%, definitely. That's my first note, replacing key
My
players. And
first night.
what's that?
First, that's my first night. My first note. That's my first note.
Yeah, no, replacing the key players is definitely. I mean, mass exodus happened. Obviously, Marchessault, Stevenson, Martinez, Amadio, Carrier. I'm sure I didn't get them all, but that's a good enough start right there to talk about all the players that are no longer with the Vegas Golden Knights. So here comes Brisson, possibly, Dorofeev, likely, Olofsson, maybe, Holtz, probably. Are they going to? I'm not. The expectation for them to replace 190 points is beyond unreasonable. But obviously, players like Hannafin maybe scraping that 50-point threshold. People say 60. I'll take 50. Mark Stone, a healthy campaign. Jack Eichel, we saw, I think NHL, was it NHL Network or NHL.com, put out his over-under for fantasy points. Another discussion in the 84-point range. That's over easily if he stays healthy. But again, that's the bad. Transitioning to my second note for the bad, the health of the key players for the Golden Knights. If Eichel goes for 60-something games, if Stone goes for 40-something games, and then we just kind of go from there. If Adin Hill doesn't have greater than, let's call it 47 and a half regular season appearances, if those three players have major health issues as they have Eichel's not been major, but it's been he's had health issues. If those three players collectively miss a bunch of games, it's going to be an incredibly challenging campaign for the Golden Knights. And then the last note for the bad for me is Cassidy. I'm not saying Cassidy is bad by any means, but does Cassidy have the patience for this season? You got younger players coming in. Cassidy's track record with some younger players, not as good. Cassidy's demands are extremely high. That's how you become a Stanley Cup champion, by having high demands and not expecting perfection. Cassidy has accepted the fact that the Golden Knights are, using his words, an imperfect team, but they still found a way, obviously, to dominate in the 22-23 Stanley Cup run. Does Cassidy have the patience required to keep things together this year? Cassidy's not just the coach this year. Cassidy needs to do his part in keeping the locker room together, making sure there's no panic in the locker room, because it's going to take time. We talked about chemistry in the first segment. You're going to talk about it again, I think, Tony, but the chemistry is not going to be what anyone wants it to be for a while this season. How can Cassidy keep the team calm through tough times?
The bad. Okay, so South Beach Bruce, his tan is even right now. No tan lines, I suppose. That's the way he'll come into camp. The bad is that they go to Florida too early in the season, so we won't see that winter tan for South Beach Bruce. I was leading into the middle.
Yeah, I had no response to that, so I'm glad you kept going.
The middle third of the season is where I was headed somehow. And of course, they can't let down there. That's the part that we talked about. That's of the utmost concern with this organization.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if they have the type of middle, I thought you might have had the record last year for their middle third, or they were a 500 team after the first third, whatever it was. If they struggle mightily in the middle third of the season, I don't think it's reasonable to expect a hot start like the team had. Now, maybe they'll have a better final third. I don't think it's going to be like the one in 2022-23 where they had 3 or 4 regulation losses and 30-something games after the All-Star break. Phenomenal run. Not a reasonable expectation for this version of the Vegas Golden Knights. So, yes, the middle third is going to be imperative. I mean, honestly, I've talked about this so many times on this show. I think the formula to a successful season is for the team to tread water. Tread water for the first 2/3 of the season. Way too much math on a Tuesday morning at 6:20. But first 2/3 of the season, if the team can be comfortably in a playoff spot, we're talking teetering in the top 3 in the Pacific, no concerns about dropping down to where they got to worry about the wild card rat race. If they could be in that spot, now we will see what Kelly McCrimmon is going to do, going back to the good, to get this team in that spot. But the bad can quickly become, throwing good money at a bad situation, right? Now it becomes bad money. Throwing good money at a bad situation. That's what I'm trying to get to here. Does Kelly McCrimmon panic and still try and make a bunch of trades to get the team ready for the playoffs, even if they're struggling? that could set the organization behind. I've talked about, I think, what I think the master plan is. We hit that in the first segment. I think the team, they're going to try their best to compete in 24-25. If they do, that's wonderful. But I really think with the new free agency money they're going to have, a lot of UFAs in 24-25 and a chance to recycle some players, I really think in 25-26 is when they're going to load up for one of the last runs in their current Stanley Cup window.
Okay, you made me do research on this Tuesday morning. I almost called it Monday.
I almost did too. I almost did too.
Also the bad. Mandalay Bay ran out of beer the other night. They weren't ready for these LSU fans. That's what one of my friends told me. No beer to be had on property. Okay, VGK started 25-5. Yeah, you would have been really bad. And then they went 14, 18, and 2. So you made me look up numbers here, and I'm not in the game. Also the bad, no plan to replace the defectors. No plan. It's part of the bad.
It is, and maybe you can say there's no plan, or you just look at the result that didn't happen. Nothing was replaced.
The McCrimmon, no plan.
Maybe. I mean, you look at a lot of players. We can argue about this a little bit here, but Stamkos $2 million above market. Chandler Stevenson went $1.5 million over what I thought was already $1 million too high market value. Marchessault, we don't need to get back into that. Other players, you just kind of looked at what happened and you kind of question. I mean, Seth Jarvis, he was a restricted free agent. He got a bizarre deal where the Hurricanes might have found a hack into saving some money against the salary cap with bonuses and stuff, like about $400,000 a year. So good for them. And Kelly McCrimmon take some notes maybe and see if we can find a way to get some more money for the Vegas Golden Knights. But point being is you had a lot of players going way above market because of the increase in the salary cap. So how does McCrimmon play that poker game as this season progresses, going into the offseason to set the team up to acquire players, whether it's going to be at this trade deadline or at the 2025 free agency period, I guess. So that'll be interesting to see. But again, don't throw good money after bad, I guess. That was what I was trying to get to in my last run-on sentence a few minutes ago.
Okay, that's a good sentence there that you constructed. $1 billion.
Wasn't it? Three commas, I think. Is that okay? Can you do that these days?
Okay.
Common core grammar.
Okay. $1 billion was paid out. You're talking about overpaying players. Remember the first day of free agency, or one of those days in the aftermath of free agency, $1 billion in salaries paid out for the first time in the NHL. So,
and McCrimmon had nothing to do with that. That's the crazier parts.
You know what? That's funny, actually, and very, very true. I think as part of the bad too, this pretty long and intense break for not only the Golden Knights but the NHL. Well, for players that are playing in the Four Nations face-off, could be bad because players are going to wear down. It's going, and Coach Cassidy and his tan will be gone by then. He's going to Canada and Boston.
The players are definitely buying into the Four Nations face-off. You heard Mark Stone make comments wanting to make Team Canada, and he's got, he didn't say something to prove, but he's not just working for the Golden Knights to make sure the Golden Knights can have a good season, but he is trying to earn a spot on an international team, and that's a lot of players that are going to be doing that. So will there be residual effects of that? I think as far as the good and the bad, I think the Four Nations goes both ways there. There's going to be players that obviously don't make the international rosters that are going to get some much needed rest. A player like Aiden Hill, who's probably going to make Team Canada, but we'll see what his health situation is. If he doesn't make the team, it's going to help him from a health perspective. If he does make the team and comes back a little tired, that's not good. So the game within the game of the Four Nations is interesting. The players that don't go, it's an advantage. The players that do go, they might come back rejuvenated, but now you go back to the chemistry, getting back to the team stuff and all of that, and there could be some negative residual effects from the Four Nation face-off.
Coming up next, the ugly, what is the worst case scenario for VGK this upcoming season, as it says on the slate. Back with more right after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Welcome back, Locked On Golden Knights, a new week here for us, at least professionally, the work week, right? Thanks for making us your
professionally.
allegedly professional.
That's a bad. That's. I'm going to beep that out
Okay. Oh,
on the edit.
wow. You're going to edit that out. Okay.
I'm
We
not editing.
appreciate
I'm not
everyone
editing
for
this.
making us your first listen each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure to chime in on Fridays. That's WTF. And then on Saturdays, sometimes, the Chris
Coming
and
soon. Coming soon.
to a theater
Coming
near
soon.
you, Chris Jr. show. Chris times Chris Jr.
Hey, speaking of Chris, scores the first goal of our house league game the other day. He sets the tone for a 3-1 victory for the Young Guns Sunday at America First. So good start to the Young Guns 24-25 campaign.
How was the Selly? Was the
It
Selly
was
good?
good, but he's been there before. Like, he's excited. He's not doing a big show off, but he's definitely kind of looking at the crowd, doing one of these and stuff, and really excited. So it's kind of more about the team, and he scored some goals. He scored some big goals. So he's
That's pretty good. I just wanted to talk for a moment. Did you see? So I have friends that are going to work the game in Brazil this week, the NFL game.
Oh,
is
yeah.
coming up. Yeah, so we've got the Kansas City Chiefs not playing there. You've got the Green Bay Packers. It says the word green. It says the word green right in their name. Against the Philadelphia Eagles, they both wear green. You're not permitted to wear green in Brazil. It's a rival gang color. So they're both going to be wearing, I guess they're wearing black and white unis there. We'll have to see how this looks. But I
How
have
does
friends
someone not
going,
know that? How does someone not know that when you send two teams to Brazil?
right. And so I told my friends at the I was
Send
at
the
the
Bears
game.
and the Lions.
I was at the game the other night, and they're working like the clocks and the headphone communication, to the helmet,
Yep.
all that, right? That's what they work in that capacity for Raiders. And they were also working that LSU game the other night. And I told them, make sure you do not wear green. And it was not in their protocol booklet that they gave them. So I'm like, leave everything. Maybe do you leave money home too? That's green. Make sure that you do not wear. They don't make it rain there. No good. It's bad. Make sure that you don't wear green there. Just a side note. Is it WTF already? I am just ready to go. Okay, what the bad? We're talking the bad. Oh no, we're talking the ugly. It's the
Oh,
same
you already
thing.
started with the ugly. That was pretty good, Tony. That was pretty good.
What if fans start booing? What if VGK has no shows, more no shows? It's a little slippage there. We saw when this team goes to that middle third and late as they're limping into the playoffs this previous season. What if they just cannot be the same winning franchise? Could get very ugly with the fans.
So this is where Gary Lawless wrote that article. I forgot what it was, but the winning is the buzz. What was the last sentence? Lawless did his job. We're not going to argue about the article, but
live. There's no buzz. There's no buzz.
Well, the buzz is. I thought the quote was the buzz is in the winning or something like that.
I'll look it up here.
So
the
my point is that
haircut, usually that's the buzz. The haircut you get is the buzz.
The point is the final statement of Gary Lawless's article was basically if the team wins, that's a buzz. That's where, the success of the team is where the buzz comes from. There's been a lot of success, obviously, no arguments there whatsoever. But this season there are questions, and now we're talking about the nuclear, the worst case outcome here. So what if Samsonov causes locker room issues? What if there's bad health? What if the new players don't develop? And then what if Cassidy just simply loses his patience and, he starts bus rolling the players and the pressers, and he's just pushing and pushing and pushing and not getting a response? Now that buzz, tying back to what we talked about in that article by Gary Lawless, if all those things are happening, the team obviously is not performing well. And even in winning seasons and playoff seasons, Stanley Cup seasons, now we can blame F1, speaking of WTF1 coming back soon as well. But F1 now will be causing a lot of no-shows in that beginning third of the season, I guess, until November, and even still after November, more in January when they get rid of that stupid track. But the point is there's a lot of things that can happen that can make T-Mobile be a little different this year. If the team's not winning on the ice, there could be boos. There will be no-shows because of the F1 crap, but there might be more no-shows because if the team isn't performing well, people trying to dump their tickets on access and, taking less than face value just to not go to a game and not see a great product. Again, we're talking nuclear. I'm not saying this is what I think is going to happen by any means, but the theme of the show is the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we're on the ugly segment right now. So the ugly segment is if the team isn't performing, that buzz is gone. And then to what Tony alluded to, less people in the stands and a different experience that no one is used to for the last 7 seasons in Vegas.
Also, amongst the ugly for me would have to be me throwing my phone when I'm trying to watch a game at another sporting event, and the nighttime app just keeps buffering.
See, I have good luck, but I've only ever used it at home with my lightning fast Wi-Fi.
Okay. The buzz remains. The buzz remains is what the tagline was at the end of that article that you were talking about. The buzz.
What was the sentence before it, though? There was a sentence right before with
I don't know. The buzz remains is all that's stuck in my mind.
Okay, you keep going. I'm going to find it.
What if players like Olofsson, Samsonov luggage, and Holtz do not fit in? What if they don't fit in?
That's a huge thing. That's a
okay.
Overlook the Golden Knights at your own. Oh, come on! I'm not going to enter to win tonight. Entering to my birthday.
Cheesy, dude.
Okay, sports franchises sell excitement for various reasons. In Vegas, the buzz is in the winning. The buzz remains. This is immeasurable that Gary Lawless inadvertently put out there right now. This is immeasurable. This is immeasurable.
Okay.
And this is something that this article is now, maybe I'm overthinking it, but this article, if the team's not winning, the buzz is gone. If that's what this article says. I know it's not what he's saying verbatim, but that's my takeaway. That's the opposite side. Again, we're on the negative end of the show right now. So what did you say before this? New players don't develop. What if the new players don't develop?
So just let me continue that thought before I forget. Okay, so these players, so what if like Olofsson doesn't fit in on the IKEA line? Samsonov, I thought a great pin would be him with his luggage, his Samsonov luggage, with all these stickers of all the ports he's been in, to play hockey. And then Holtz, what if they don't fit in? They were reportedly they were disgruntled. I think that might be the best way to put it. I don't know. They're not at malcontent levels yet, but maybe they were disgruntled a little bit. To a degree, they were headaches in their previous stop. So what happens if 1, 2, or all of the above go sideways for VGK? Could get very
then they're screwed. Then they're screwed. I mean, call what it is, Tony. They're screwed. Victor Olofsson.
The buzz remains with those three.
We'll see.
I mean,
the buzz. Maybe the buzz relies on them. Maybe the buzz is hinging on them.
The buzz is
so. Someone said yesterday that the combination of Eichel. This was in that goofy Twitter post I had going yesterday about.
Tell the listeners and viewers what this goofy.
So somebody made a comment that here's like a picture of Jamie Benn blowing up Mark Stone. It was actually Braden McNabb, by the way, so they screwed up on that, number one. So I quote tweeted it and said, one of these players is a Stanley Cup champion. The other is Jamie Benn. And it got like 20,000 views. People started chirping. It was fun.
That was funny. Yeah, that's good.
We're chirping. It's okay. I enjoy playful chirps, guys.
McNabb, though, by his skates?
It was McNabb. Yeah, it was
McNabb. Could you tell by his skates?
Because I was corrected.
Okay. Oh, because you were corrected. Okay.
I was even Lee Orchard of the Golden Knight jumped in there and was having some fun with us. Listen here. Part of the comment, someone said something about Olofsson and Eichel.
Contract year for him? Is he an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season?
Moving on. So going on to Olofsson here, the joke was that
the town crier should be put on waivers.
The joke was that Eichel and Olofsson were going to combine for 110 points this season. I said Eichel might get 90 points, and they may not eclipse 100 points between Olofsson and Eichel. And I mean that goofy as a goofy perspective, but I mean that also seriously.
No, that's legit.
Olofsson, his expectations, I mean, what are we going to get? I mean, 22-23 Buffalo, 40 points, but minus 23. 2020-21 Buffalo Sabres, where they were just on the outside looking in of that weird playoff scenario where only like 9 teams didn't make the playoffs because of COVID and everything. Sabres were better. They were not a terrible team at that point. He gets 32 points. Dude's a minus 23. Dude's a minus 23. Now, I get it. Plus minus isn't as important in the modern day league, but playing two-way hockey is. So I'm not saying Olofsson cannot do it, but Olofsson needs to be the best version of himself to just remain in this lineup. We're going really long, so I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
I think we're done. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Sorry, I went a little bit off the rails today.
We took yesterday off. We had to make up for it. We had to make up. You go up. You're apologizing finally for going off the rails. Finally, folks. Tony apologized. Does it every dang show.
Of course, for once, I will apologize. We appreciate you tuning in, especially the everydayers. Thank you so.
Shut up, Tony!
Happy September.
Happy September. Wake me up when September ends. I had a
great song. Great song. Great band. Great band.
Okay, and now on the 21st, you'll have the 21st of September. Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'll post that. Just make sure that I stay on task.
What are we doing?
I don't know. Thanks so much for tuning in. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights. And please, take care.